You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no-nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton, here with you guys today. Hey, just wanted to say a thank you for joining on the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. We actually have a really special guest on the line. So he actually started and founded Lawn Doctor, which was a fertilizer company over on the west side of the state, and grew it to a really large, successful company and was able to sell that business. And then over the last few years as well, started a technology business for the green industry called LawnBot. So we're going to kind of unpackage his story. I know he's got a lot of helpful tips and just wisdom, being in the industry for quite a while. So Kendall, maybe for people that don't know, your whole story, why don't you give them maybe a 30 to 60 second plug just so people can kind of know where you're at today and maybe just your background.
Yeah. So I grew up in the industry since I was a kid. I always thought, my parents' business would be a backup for me, if I ever failed at life, right? Like I went away to school, played college baseball, and there was always kind of this thing there. My mom and dad opened Lawn Doctor initially.
Okay.
It's a franchise, right? They opened it 20 years ago, in March 2000. And my dad had 3 jobs during that time. So he was a grocery manager during the week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, he would do Lawn Doctor, right, and grow that business. And now he'd have a paper route to pay off, his lawn care business.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that growing up. It's a tremendous amount of hard work. And, my dad, bless his heart, he's a great operator, but he's not the sales guy. And when I came in, I was like, wow, all we need in this business is sales. There's other Lawn Doctor businesses that have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 customers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those people that study more successful people than me. So if I want the answers, I try to reach up in relationships. So that's what I started doing. I started going around the country, visiting these different Lawn Doctor locations, like literally copying exactly what they're doing, exactly what they're saying on the phone, the Bluetooth headset they're wearing around their neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew my parents' business from 90 accounts to 2,000 accounts in 5 seasons with no outside capital, no big line of credit. It was all bootstrap, knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Who's got my money?
Right. Sure. That's awesome, man. Well, good for you. I mean, it's there's so many folks that that listen to the podcast, Kendall, that they're kind of in that middle phase, right? They have that business there. I talk to a lot of guys that are 0 to 250 grand a year in revenue. That's kind of me. That's kind of my audience. That's who I like to listen to. But there's so many guys that want to grow into that medium-sized company. And then there is still a huge audience that listens to us as well that are in that medium boat. And I'm not going to teach them the basics or the X's and O's, right? But they want to listen to just get a couple helpful tips here and there. But you're kind of in that, I'd say that middle to large size business that you and your family grew. And so it's kind of more challenging for me to get guests on that have been through that phase of their business. Does that make sense? So Well,
we went through it pretty quick. I mean, we grew. It takes most companies 10 to 20 years to get that big, and we did it in 5.
Right.
Along with that, it's very freaking painful to grow that quickly.
Sure.
But what the old saying is: fail fast and fail forward. Like Amen. I learned, you're shortening that feedback loop instead of taking 20 years to do something. I learned a lot of lessons in a short amount of time.
Sure.
Around who to hire, how to hire, how do you run a sales team, how do you audit. When you're really pushing growth, how do you audit sales, right? Like you need to have an audit process for your sales process.
Mm-hmm.
So I failed a lot too. Like it's not just all like, okay, yeah, you go 90 accounts to 2,000. Like we messed up a lot.
Sure.
I'm 28 years old. I'm 28. So it's like when I took over the business, I think I was 21 years old. I was going to networking groups and BNI and chamber events and literally doing whatever it took to get our name out there. So that when people in Grand Rapids thought of the green industry, they thought of Kendall Hines and green tech, weed free lawn doctor.
Right,
So,
right. Well, dude, there's going to be a lot to unpack there. You already gave the intro with all the different topics that we can talk about with sales, because those are relevant, practical. Like I like X's and O's. You know what I mean? I hate when people talk in circles. I hate when people talk hyperbole. I'm like, I'm like, just give me the meat. Like, what did you do? How did you say it? What did you look for when you were hiring people? Like you were just talking about. So let's do this. Let's hear from the announcements, and then we're going to unpackage the rest of your story.
Have you ever thought about starting your own lawn and landscaping business, but not sure where to start? Look no further than LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, an e-training website dedicated to helping you start and grow a successful lawn care business. Save more time and make way more money by learning exactly what it takes to grow your business to the next level. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all training programs today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, Kendall. So here's the first question that I got for you, and it's fastball right down the middle. Not a trick question, but I think something that I could definitely tell we're getting excited about and passionate about, and that is creating systems, right? So obviously you were looking for some of the best systems to grow your company, your family's company. Was it something that you guys didn't have any systems in place? Because you said it was a franchise, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Were you just kind of stuck in the mud with how to make it work for your market, or what was your mindset with all this?
Like I mentioned before, my dad he was more of an operator. He's the guy that's on the ground, like hand pulling crabgrass out of the lawn.
Yep.
I know there's probably lots of guys listening that are like that. They just don't have a sales bone in their body. So it was more learning, I'm not a natural born salesperson either.
Sure.
But I know, and I learned very quickly that the best lawn care companies, when I say best, I don't mean like most, I'm saying like the biggest ones that I came across in this case. Bigger's not always better, but the best ones that I talk to, they have a strong sales system.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And they're not as worried about losing one or two customers if you have a strong sales system. And as we all know, the top line of your financial statement is sales. It is revenue.
Right.
So no matter how much you save on gas and all this other stuff, it all begins at the top with top line revenue.
Amen.
So, it was more of learning what to say and how to handle somebody on the phone, and learning those scripts. What you say on the phone and how you handle an inbound call is very important. It might seem small, like you might but it needs to be consistent every time. Like when somebody calls our office, our sales reps are asking the same questions over and over and over. Who's been doing the lawn before? Have you been doing it yourself or hiring another company? Awesome. Glad to hear you're taking pride in the lawn, Mrs. Jones. If you can improve one thing, would it be, less bare spots, a thicker turf, less insects? We're really trying to make an interactive process with them on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, we're gathering bullet points, and we're going to use those bullet points to create a proposal and propose something to them. Based on your feedback, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to recommend this package.
Sure.
It's going to fix all your problems. It's going to be $50 a mow or an application. You can see how that's the best plan for your lawn this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. Awesome. Well, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, which one are we putting it on today? You'd be amazed at how many people I talk to that are afraid to ask for money and credit cards. I mean, just getting comfortable. That's almost the first thing we do with sales reps is we try to make them as uncomfortable as possible on the phone.
Sure.
We're in this to like feed our family, right? There should be no shame in asking for a credit card and getting prepayment or getting upfront payment on something. I mean, this is your livelihood. So that's kind of, I guess, a tactic or whatever is when we bring in sales reps, we try to make them get them as uncomfortable as possible on the phone, because what's the worst thing they're going to say is no? Well, you just pick up the phone and go get another lead.
I think that's a huge one for just, it sounds like so rudimentary, but it's a significant, sales tip or life tip is, everything starts with sales, man. I totally understood that when I worked at Little Caesars, because they would start every meeting with, is your sales up? Are your sales up week to week and month to month? And it got just, smashed into our head that you need to increase sales. And then when I worked at True Green, yes, you had your production number for the day, right? But you got like literally bonused and incentivized, and you didn't have to work Saturday. You know what I mean? If you had made additional sales during the week, and they had, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And some people, you maybe worked at like a Fridays or an Applebee's, and they have like their prime rib or something like that, little steak option or something like that. And if you sell 5 of them, the owner or the manager gave you a $25 gift card on your shift. You know what I mean? Like, is being a sales. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a natural born salesperson either. Like, I am not. I know I sound like really suave and smooth on the podcast or the YouTube videos, but like my natural personality is very introverted, very not others naturally focused. But I will echo what you said, that sales also, if you're charismatic, awesome, but sales is a skill set. Like there's like 5 or 6 things you can do to set somebody at ease. Features benefits, a little bit of FOMO, and like you said, you can ask for the sale. And
you'd be amazed at how many people like go and do a bid or whatever and don't even ask for the business. They're like, okay, it's gonna be $60, and here you go. Let me know. Get back to me whenever. Well, like the more aggressive person is always going to win those deals. And I'm not like you, I'm not a natural salesperson. I had to force myself to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, I still get a little uncomfortable. Like when I'm selling lawn care on the phone, and it's like, we're the highest priced company, and we're given a bid for, let's say, $1,000 or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to be $958 if you prepay.
Yep.
That sound good? And they're like, yeah, let's throw it on the Amex. Like, and that's another thing is people's like your own financial situation isn't the same as your customers.
Right.
So that $958 might be a lot to you, but to that client, like that's just another line item on their expense list to run their household.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know where it is for me with sales. Sales to me is like, it's like a fight. It's like a rush. It is really weird. It's like fight or flight. And some people totally like, they do not want to participate in sales. I get it, but you do have to sell your services. Like you run a business, and like, to go full circle, like, yeah, you can lay the best stripes, you can lay the best mulch, you can, do the best treatments. However, if nobody's selling that customer to like go with you, then you don't get the privilege of doing any of those services, So I've read all the Brian Tracy books and the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, and so many different sales books, over the last decade, because I was so far back with being a salesperson. Like I didn't want to sell. I always thought selling was used car salesman, like used RV salesman, they sell you something you don't like 1980s, 1990s Wolf of Wall Street stuff. You know what I mean? And I've come to learn that sales or sell is just a 4-letter word for help. And you're not trying to sell people, you're trying to help them. So continue. Go ahead. So continue. I don't want to take it all away, but this is fun stuff to me.
And to speak to probably the volume of the base that's listening right now, just the fact that you're the owner, or you're a family business, or you're a local business and you've been around for 15, 10, maybe 5 years, using those bullet points of, listen, Mrs. Jones, like, I'm your guy. My name's Jim. You're dealing with Jim's Lawn Service. If you need anything, you're going to call me. You're not going to deal with some national call center down in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
You could see why we're the company for you, right?
Yep.
But you have to be so sold on why, like, you're the best and you deserve that sale, and be able to ask those questions. I think that, it takes time, but it also takes repetition and practice. That's the first thing we did in the morning, is before we hopped on the phones, because we did mostly phone sales, just because in our space it didn't make much sense to go look at every lawn. We would role play on each other. So we'd get partners, right? You'd sit down, and because it's the same objections every time. I got to talk to my wife.
Sure.
I need to think about it. I'm getting other quotes. Like, how are you going to handle those objections? It's not going to be the first, like, literally, if you're going to be in the lawn care business for any amount of time, you will hear those objections over and over and over and over
the
again.
Same 10,
you need to know how to handle them. Like, what are you going to say when they need to think about it?
I need to
Okay,
think
Mrs.
about
Jones,
it.
I understand. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you need to think about though? Like, we just walked your property for a half hour, like, are we going to do this or not? Like, what are you waiting on?
Right.
If it's maybe your wife or husband's like, hey, I got to check with my husband. Okay, I totally understand. First rule of sales, always agree.
Mm-hmm.
Always get an agreement with the prospect. I understand. I can't buy Skittles at the store without checking with my wife first. But if your husband was here right now, what types of questions would your husband have? Would it be about the price? My jokes? Would he not like my jokes? You try to keep it fun, and
Yep.
It's an experience.
Well, that's
a lot of people.
Well, and one other thing.
Go ahead.
One other thing was my perspective. I read this out of a book called "The Best Damn Sales Book Ever" by Warren Greshus. It was one of the best sales books I've ever read. If you guys have not read that, I super endorse it and implore you guys to check it out. So Warren Greshus, he was he's in sales for 20, 30 years. I'm not going to give his whole story. But one thing that I really took away from his book was, if you're in sales, you're really when you're trying to talk to somebody, you're trying to advise them. And it kind of goes back to like that word help. And he said, for example, if somebody wants, a lush, green, healthy lawn, and obviously they called you, it's your job to advise them. And so you give them this whole program and all these options, right? Like you had just listed off and mentioned, right? And
yeah.
And so if you really do believe that you're the best lawn care guy or the best service provider or the best fertilizer guy, then everybody else, not in a prideful way, but everybody else is doing mediocre work. So because you're the best, and that's how I view it. I'm the best. And so when I'm out there, if my lawn customer says, well, I just don't know if we really want to go with you. Well, my attitude is, if you go with anybody else, you're going to get subpar work. So in reality, it's my job to make sure that you go with me because you said you wanted the best.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, totally.
That's my that's my attitude. I'm an advisor, and in fact, as your advisor, if you do go with a different company, you're going to get less service and quality and performance and what you're looking for. So in fact, if you don't go with me, I don't understand. And so, but it's a mindset thing. It really is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
These are just like little helpful tips. Some of them are from like the 80s and 90s, but that sales is if you have charisma and the personality and you're an extrovert, like, God bless you. Honestly, that'll get you to, definitely a leg up. But for me personally, like you said, I would drive around in my truck and just repeat back to me things that people had said. And I'm like, oh, they got me this time. Like, I didn't know what to say about, why is my price $34 and the other guy's $24?
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. They got me. And then I started learning how to sell value and sell quality and things that people were actually looking for.
Here's like another tactical tip. Is I used to, when I was first starting out, and this is a tip I picked up from Grant Cardone. I think, a lot of people follow him or online or whatever, but, carry an objection book with you, whether it's in your phone or like a notepad.
Mm-hmm.
And, when people come up with objections, like you say you're on the lawn and they don't buy for whatever reason, like write it down.
Yep.
And, try to, come up with like what you're going to say next time or try next time. Like if they say, you're 30, let's say maybe the objection is you're $10 higher than the other guy. Like, what are you going to say next time to overcome that objection?
Right.
And then ask for the sale again. Well, we use the best mowers and we're family owned and operated. We're the highest rated company on Google. I think we're worth every penny of that $10 difference. And I'm going to show you that.
Yeah.
You can see how we're going to be the best company for your lawn this year. Right.
Mm.
And, it's, writing down your objections and how you're going to handle it the next time it pops up, because it's not going to stop happening. That objection is not going to stop popping up.
Well, and that just goes full circle to, back to our question about, systems, because here's the deal. When you run a business, we always talk about, Kendall, on my podcast, that, as a small business owner, you're wearing 4 or 5 different hats, right? You're the HR, your accounting, your legal, your sales, and like you said, your operations, all these different things. And, you might work for somebody else and be like, well, I mow the best stripes, or I lay down fertilizer better than anybody. Awesome. So you decide to start your own business. Okay, well, what do you know though about acquiring customers? What do you know about marketing and logos and sales and colors
Right.
and
Right.
all this other mess? And so, it's honestly the same thing. Like you start your own business, but what do you know about P&Ls and balance sheets and bottom lines and accounting and financing and bookkeeping and taxes and CPA? That's the thing where you can't always do it all. But if there's any one thing that you're going to get really good at, in my opinion, and Kendall, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, because you're running companies. It's get good at sales. Like if you can get good at sales, you can arguably hire out all the other things that you don't like. And in sales,
Totally.
Sales, like
And
it or not, pays the most.
Well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the best operator. Like, I'll be the first to tell you, like, all those failures were in the operational department. But because we had so many sales coming in, it smoothed over that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, typically,
mm-hmm.
and the growth cycle. So, that's just my personality. Like, I'm not like last year. I didn't do one. Like when I first started growing the business, it was very boots on the ground. Like, it was me and my dad out doing the lawns. I would and we didn't have money to hire people at first year of me growing the business. So I went and got a Bluetooth headset that vibrated around my neck every time a call came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that speed to the lead was crucial. So every time somebody called, it would buzz on my neck. I'd stop the machine on the lawn and I'd answer the call. We didn't get that many calls, but our conversion rate was high as hell because I knew that if we picked up that phone, we would make more sales. So
sure.
I made sure we answered the phone every time without fail, and lo and behold, we went from 90 to 350 our first year.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
talk more about that, dude. With the speed of the lead, because some people have heard that term. It is a salesy one, but it's a good one. And we're talking sales. Like, if you want to grow a company, you got to sell. And it's like it seems like sales is like a dirty word in today's culture, modern age. Like, no, salespeople get paid really handsomely, and if you sell really good for your company, you're going to get paid really handsomely. So when there's an inquiry for service, you're talking about speed of the lead. What does that mean to you? Like, how did that incorporate into your guys' sales process, especially as the company grew?
Yeah. So somebody hits your website, right? They request a quote online. There's multiple studies out there that cite that for every 5 minutes that goes by before you contact that person, your close rate drops immensely. So if you call that person within 5 minutes, your close rate is extremely higher.
Mm-hmm.
I would say more than 50 or 60% higher than if you called them 15 or 20 minutes later and beyond. And some guys aren't even getting to leads in the spring until
a couple days,
multiple days later.
Yeah.
Or at all, maybe.
Yeah. No, that doesn't work in 2020.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Some guys' websites, thanks, somebody's going to get back to you. And in my mind, I'm like, oh God, if that's the thought or the thesis, it's going to be a while before they get back to you. So that's, kind of where I came up with the idea for LawnBot was speed to the lead. Like, how do we beat these big national companies that have a call center of people that work from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m.? And as soon as that lead comes, if you go on TrueGreen right now and you request a quote, they're going to call you within 5 minutes, guaranteed.
Yep.
And they're not going to stop calling you until they get the sale.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we compete with something like that? Well, in my mind, it's like the moment they're interested in on your website, they're able to get a price, sign up, and pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the ultimate speed to the lead. But it's that first year when I was growing the business I knew that we were going to get a finite number of calls that year in web leads, and I wanted to maximize our success on them. So I knew if we picked up the phone faster, we have a higher chance of closing those people.
Sure. So, well, and there's a lot of, like you just said, there's a lot of stats and studies that share and talk about that. On the first presentation, you're 74 or 78% more likely to make a sale on the first go around, and then there's the second meeting and whatnot, it's like 12 or 14%, and then it's like the third, fourth, and fifth and sixth presentation, it's like 8, 2, 4. You know what I mean? And so a majority of sales are made on that first conversation. I've read that on self-help books. I've read that in sales books. There's another really good book out there. A friend of mine who's in network marketing gave it to me. It's called Go for No. Just a phenomenal book as well if you want to talk about selling and upselling. But you're 100% right, Kendall. Like, I'll be honest with you, dude. Every time I get a phone call, it's, hey, we're looking for lawn service, XYZ PDQ. Okay. I call them back usually right then. And I'm in, normally we're cutting lawns every 10 to 15 minutes. I'm hopping back in the truck. So my response time, I clear out my phone. I'm not the guy with 40 voicemails and it's full and you can't leave a voicemail. I have like one saved voicemail, you know what I mean? And I call that person back and, I give our whole pitch. I quote pretty high, like obnoxiously high now because I've kind of known my worth and my value. And here's exactly why I can do this, because every single time, imagine what they say, Kendall, man, you're the first company that finally called me back. I've been calling companies for 3 days. Nobody's answering the phone. One guy answered the phone. He said he was going to give me a quote. That's been 3 days ago. And as I always tell people, like, it's not hard to succeed with a lawn and landscape business, but you have to master the basics, like the blocking and tackling. Like if you're
totally. Yeah.
If you're going to mow on Wednesday, mow on Wednesday. Like me and my guys, we have like a 98% chance that we're mowing on your day every week. There's only 2 or 3 things I master, and consistency. Like if you're going to say you're mowing on Wednesday, I don't care if your kids had school. I don't care if your daughter had dance practice. I don't care if something got sick, something broke down, equipment this, doesn't matter. Like master the basics. The other one is pick up the damn phone. Like pick up the phone. Do you want to speak to that a little bit more about, like you said, is that some of the stuff that you guys notice? Because dude, I think that's huge. I've told people that True Green is a sales company that happens to fertilize. You know what I mean?
And there's nothing, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Like
for sure.
I mean, you need to sell your product.
Yeah.
And
yep.
there's a lot to learn. People could say what they want about the production of, True Green. I think when you have a company that's that large, they do $1 billion in revenue. There's going to be some bad eggs in every basket, right?
Of course. Yep.
But they do know how to sell. They do know how to market. They're good for the industry in that fact. I think there's a lot of things, takeaways, or you can take away their sales and marketing tactics and use them in your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the power of that, the sales and marketing tactics of a company like True Green with the product delivery of, Joe's Lawn Care,
mm-hmm.
like family owned and operated. Like that's deadly. So when we would get sales reps that used to work at True Green who know how to make the phone calls, they know exactly what to say and when to say it and how to say it. But they were selling a family-owned business. Their close went through the roof compared to True Green, because we had, we have 150 Google reviews. Like we're very highly, rated on Google. So It was like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
When people would call in, because the product is better, and we don't have a tarnished brand name.
Sure.
Like, True Green does in a lot of cases, but
that's awesome. Can you what was your guys' angle or pitch? Was that like is that what you guys sold? Like, hey, we're family owned and operated. Those are
absolute.
Right now,
hey, listen,
that's the best, family owned and operated.
People love it. Yeah, it's we're family owned and operated. We've been in business 20 years here in Grand Rapids, and then we throw in some. The Gerald R. Ford Airport. Yep, they're one of our clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's nice about the software that we had was you can click these binoculars. We used Real Green systems, and we click the binoculars and then show us neighbors that we service nearby.
Yep.
And you say, oh, and by the way, like we already have a truck out there next Tuesday. Looks like we're taking care of Jim at this address and John at this address. You just want me to throw you on the route?
Right.
And, I can stop by while we're out there doing Jim's lawn. I'd hate to miss the pre-emergent for it. And like building urgency is obviously important too. So you try to build as much in lawn care. It's not a long sales cycle like maybe $100,000 landscape install. Like
right.
It's typically a 400. If you're talking fertilizer, for example, to let's say 1,500 to $2,000 if you're talking mowing, weekly maintenance. Like somebody's going to do it, and you want to build the urgency with a product like this. So we always use, hey, listen, depending on the time of year, of course, it's like, hey, we only have a short window to get the crabgrass preventer down. We need to make sure we get that down, or you'll get crabgrass later in the year. You're familiar with what crabgrass is, right, Mrs. Jones? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That neon grass that you see grow along the sidewalks and it's real ugly. Yeah. So as long as we can get out there in the next week or so and get that crabgrass preventer down, we'll make sure we have a solid barrier so you don't get crabgrass later in the year. Sound fair?
Yeah.
And just throw those little closes and tie downs in there. And it's really controlling the call, right? It's like knowing what to do with the call and how to handle the different, paths that it could take.
Well, that's the thing too. Like my sales process for signing somebody up is one of the reasons I don't, for mowing, for residential, do a lot of contracts, because the velocity of a phone call is in 90 seconds you can be signed up with me, and I'm totally serious. It's like, hey, are you looking for this, and this? Yeah, we're looking for maintenance. Okay, we're over there on Wednesdays. We do, Leah over there. We do Tom over there. Oh yeah, I know Leah. Okay, cool. Well, hey, we mow for this price. We're here on this day. Do those both sound good? Good to you? Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, cool. Well, here's what we do for billing. We put you into our system. Just text me your name, address, and email. I'll send you a credit card on file link. You store your card. We charge card end of month after service is done, and we just do month to month a la carte for any of our services. Okay, sounds good, honey. Go ahead, knock it out Wednesday. Look forward to seeing you and your guys there. Bada bing, bada boom. I mean, we sign somebody up in 90 seconds. It's not even,
that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, but the other guys, like, let me get a contract to you. Okay. Well, what's your email? Is it, 74, ladies man 74 at Gmail? It's like, then they get this email and it's like a 3-page contract, and it's got all this like bold language. It's like, we will sue you if you don't pay. And it's like, Jesus. And I've seen all these contracts, and people send them to me for, review and get my thoughts on them. And then what? The customer prints it off, or they check all these boxes, then it gets back. And dude, this whole, and then the kids got soccer practice that day, and the mom forgets about it. And 3-4 days goes by, and the mom just wants the long cut. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know what all these things mean. And if you use contracts, awesome. Maybe just figure it out how it's being perceived and received from the customer's end, right? Because
we didn't do contracts. We called it simple service agreements.
Yep.
By them paying us, that's authorizing services on their lawn. By the way, services continue season to season, Mrs. Jones. We're not going to call you next year. We're just going to come out and continue doing your lawn. If you want to cancel service, well, we never talk about canceling, first of all.
Right.
We say for a change in service, just contact our office.
Sure.
But yeah, we didn't do contracts, and I mean, we were selling, $1,500 lawn installs in some cases. So
right. It works in both.
You don't want to add friction to the process. I mean, that's a good way to stay small. Is you need to send out a physical contract to every single. I mean, we had 900 Facebook leads last year. That's nuts. Like, that doesn't count any website leads, any phone leads.
Right.
You think of that admin nightmare of sending 900 contracts to people.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's not worth it. If you're doing a $40,000 patio install, sure.
Yeah, definitely get a contract for that. But simple service agreements. As long as we get their card on file, I'm good with that.
Yep.
Good enough for me.
No, I love it, man. Well, let's do this. I'm gonna take a quick sip of water here. We'll hear from the announcements again, but I want to keep talking about how you guys continue to grow this company, because that's some fast growth. We're talking about sales skills and some systems that you guys did, but I want to talk about people too, because I'm sure there's some different things that you can lead with people that made sense for your organization, people that didn't. Maybe some helpful tips if some guys are trying to grow the company. I'm sure that you were busy selling, and I'm sure your dad was busy quarterbacking a lot of stuff too, and I'm sure you guys have some really good stories of things that worked out, and then maybe some things that didn't work out. So let's do this. Let's keep it going. Let's hear from the announcements, and we'll dive right back into it.
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, Kendall. So let's, if you want to just take it away, we can just keep the conversation going because I'm having a really good time. I think this will be really helpful to a lot of guys that are listening. And of course, we're not the authority figure, guys. Like we've grown some good sales, some good numbers, and both have gained a lot of clients, lost a lot of clients too, right, Kendall? So
Totally, yeah.
But
it's gonna happen.
yeah. So what's some helpful tips with you're talking about people? Because all these different sales have to be made by folks, and you guys obviously grew a larger company than what I have. So any helpful tips when you're talking about hiring? Like, did you right or wrong? Did you poach some good people from other organizations, or do you guys have an internal sales onboard process?
When you're in the growth stages of a company like we were, I always hear these companies talk about how like great of processes they have, and these are companies that have been around 20 plus years that talk like that. When you're growing and scaling a business at the rate that we were, like there's a saying at Facebook that says move fast and break things. Like you want to move fast, you want to get through the failure loop as fast as possible. So and also with our company, when we were growing it in the boom time economy. Some of the best years of our economy were when we grew the business the most, before this recent Corona thing. And, Amazon's hiring people for $25 an hour, full benefits day one, things like that. The things we can't compete with in our space. I can't pay a guy $30 an hour to go spray lawns. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So, we had to be creative. We had to we changed our production process around a little bit to account for the labor aspect. So especially in the chemical side, we had to get guys certified. It wasn't just hiring like Joe Blow and throw them on a mower. Like we had to get somebody competent enough to like pass a test. And those tests are like obviously depends on who it is, but it can be kind of hard to pass sometimes. So like we would, or even to have them show up at the testing facility. So, cause the unemployment numbers were so low, now they're pretty high. I'm sure there's lots of great lawn technicians out there looking for a job, but
sure.
We had to change our production process and how we thought about technicians around a little bit. These aren't like in years past where you're getting a lawn scientist coming out there. We're hiring guys that worked at, Jimmy John's or the car wash, and, selling them, selling again on the fact that, listen, John, like you're going to own your own route. You're going to be your own boss in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
We're not going to micromanage you. And we're going to cut you loose, and we're going to count on you owning this route. This is your route. So we looked for those guys, and then we're always looking for ambitious people. So like when I would go through the car wash and I'd see somebody like maybe go above and beyond, because I get my truck washed every day. If I see him like do things that other people won't do, that shows a little bit of character, a little bit of something in him that says, hey, like this guy's ambitious and good. And like, hey, do you like working here? You like working at the car wash? He's like, no, it sucks. Well, great. Listen, we're hiring. How much do you make? I make $13. Great. I'll pay you 15 day one. We'll pay for you to get trained. And so it was a lot of that. Actually everybody that worked at our company was millennials. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Just cause I'm, 28 years old. I'm a younger dude. So it was, we tried to take the same approach with humans and people, and that's, frequency, activity. Like there was plenty of people that we hired that just like failed in a flaming fire of death, as I'm sure many listeners have tried. But I think the faster you get through that failure loop, the quicker you find the good ones. And when you find the good ones, you just have to do whatever you can to keep them around.
Yeah. Did you look more for like sales people? You know what I mean, like that outgoing personality, or were you more sympathetic because you weren't a sales guy? You could at least teach them a skill set. If they were the crux is always, are you interested in learning and ambitious to learn? Because if so, I can teach you.
Yeah. So there's two sides. Yeah. On the production side, you know, hiring lawn technicians, not so much. We were just looking for a little bit of ambition.
Mm-hmm.
On the sales side, we actually hacked it in a lot of ways. I didn't have time to train a salesperson from like the ground up, like never picked up a phone before. So we tried to look for people that, number one, either worked at True Green before, and True Green spent thousands of dollars on them, training them.
Mm-hmm.
So they came in day one, trained. They knew about the industry. They knew the software. There was like zero, onboard process with them, other than educating them on our products we sell and cutting them loose on the phone.
Mm.
And then they would just crush it because our material was so hot between all of the material that we had stacked up. When I talk about material, I'm saying like we would have these campaigns that we run. So you think about in your company, everybody you've given a quote to in the history of your business, we called that the Gave Estimate campaign, and we would call them even if it was 10 years ago. Hey, Carol, it's Kendall over at the Lawn Doctor. How you doing today? And then, hey, listen, we gave you an estimate back in 2010. And just wanted to see what you're doing with the lawn this year. Are you going to do it yourself or hire another company?
Sure.
And we would crush it with those campaigns. And then also we'd run cancel campaigns. So anybody that, canceled our service in the last 10 to 20 years, we call those people again.
That's really good.
So I tried to hack it and just find people who are already trained to sell lawn care. So a good tactical example folks could use is there's lots of door-to-door lawn care salesmen, maybe less now that the Corona thing's happening, but what I would do is when I see the weed man kids out knocking on doors, or I'd come across like a door-to-door True Green sales guy, those guys already know the word tracks, they already know the objections, and clearly they're a salesperson. Else True Green wouldn't hire them. However, our pitch was, listen, you'll be employee number 10 at like our company. At True Green, you're employee number 22,500. How high can you climb up the ladder there? So it's a lot easier to, we tried to sell them on growing with our company.
Gotcha.
And it worked out pretty good.
How many people did you guys end up having at the company by the time that you guys sold it, or you were done working there, or if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So in our last season, in peak season, we had about 15 people.
Yeah. Cool.
During peak season. But Michigan lawn care is one of the most interesting things. Maybe just all cool season markets are like this, but in our space, we don't snowplow. So come November, we lay off most of our technicians and most of our sales staff.
Gotcha.
And we bring them back the next spring, and they go on unemployment. And I've always, through the growth, that's one thing that always stuck with me. I'm like, gosh, I wish I could keep my guys on through the year, but I have lots of friends that snowplow, and I just didn't want to get into it.
Right.
So that's kind of what everybody does in the chemical space. They lay off their technicians for the most part in the.
That's what True Green did. I mean, we would get done mowing spraying in October, November, and it was funny because if like it was always like, oh, you're gonna be like today, the next day, like you'd see the production go from 1,400 to 1,200 to 900 to 450, and that's when you kind of knew like, oh, I think my route is pretty much done. And then we do True Green kind of extended it by another week by delivering ice melt. If I don't know if you guys ever did that, but that was a good little sales thing for them, and they probably moved a couple million pallets of that crap, and kept their guys working for another couple of days, and then we get laid off. And that was, it's funny talking to another guy that has a fertilizer background, and some guys get this and some guys don't, but that was literally how I got laid off, because I was supposed to come back like February for spray training and all that mess, and I shared my whole story on my first episode of the podcast, episode 1, but I came back and they're like, yeah, dude, we thought you were doing lawn care full time. And I'm like, no, man, I'm ready to rock and roll and spray and do the deal. And they're like, yeah, well, we got a different guy in your truck. I go, no problem, dude. Like, there's 24 trucks here, And they're like, Yeah, we have 24 drivers, and it was just kind of like a nod.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I and my glorious part from True Green, and it was honestly it was a mixed blessing. Back then, it was a blessing in disguise, I should say, because I decided to go full time with my lawn and landscape company, and I truly don't know if I would have, because I totally had that security mindset and a good job, if you will, and but that's when I decided to go all in with my lawn business. So it is what it is. It was I have no hard feelings or anything like that. And in fact, I had a really good experience at True. I learned, like you said, so much about sales and upselling and campaigns and door to door. I mean, we were forced to go door to door, and it was a good organization, man. So it seems like a lot of parallels with you guys and how you ran your company. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We tried to emulate the good in them and definitely leave out the bad.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
it's a cool thing.
easy transition for us is something I didn't want to gloss over while we were doing the podcast, because when you and I were talking, we actually got to link up to with John Pajak, who introduced each other.
Shout out, John.
Yeah, big shout out to John. He's a great dude. He's a warm teddy bear down in Indiana. He's a big fuzzy teddy bear. I love John, great guy. And John's like, you got to get Kendall on the podcast and all this other stuff. And I said, sure, of course. Dude, like, well, I'm open to good quality content. And one of the things that John was telling me that you had started, and you can probably fill in all the details, was LawnBot. So one of the things that you had said earlier in the podcast was the speed to the lead. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
So okay. So like you said earlier, if you can take that high tech touch, that velocity of getting back to a customer, while also being a small business and sharing that story and still selling and adding value, then you are just, I mean, you can literally write your own paycheck. I mean, you can grow your company by millions of dollars in sales, which is essentially what you guys did. And to double back on what one thing you said earlier is, how do you beat a True Green? How do you beat the big guy in town who has full-time salespeople and full-time sales staff? And you get these phone calls. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever been there, but that's I've been there all day. Like, I get 8 missed phone calls. I answer 3 of them at lunch. But I'm like, dude, we got 24 more lawns to mow, and I'm freaking out. And people are like, well, when do you make your sales calls back? I go, dude, between 5 and 7. I try to do 1 or 2 at lunch, like on the way to lunch and on the way back from lunch. But then I make a bunch of phone calls at 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. Well, how do you compete with a larger organization or company that's in town that has 2 call center people on staff? And so this is a real concern for a lot of guys listening. And so this isn't a pitch or anything like that, but talk to them about LawnBot, because this is exactly the software you designed by having all these different needs out there in the marketplace. And this is the kind of product that is designed for guys like us that are trying to grow a company and that can't exactly put on staff a full-time salesperson.
Yeah. So think of LawnBot as your full-time digital salesperson. It's perfect for companies that, all sizes of companies. Our largest company, have 20,000 customers, and our smallest company has maybe 100 customers down in Waco, Texas. And
Sure.
I think it can help any size business in between. But essentially, what we do is we tap into all of your digital inbound leads. So you think Facebook ads, you think website leads, and we drive all of that traffic to your custom branded LawnBot. So have your logo, your price tables, all the services you sell, and all your inventory, right? So you're able to now have a full-time dedicated salesperson, no matter the time of the day. Like, I'm looking at the sales board right now. There was a sale made at 11:44 p.m. last night.
Nice.
Like, that's amazing to me, right? Like, that's a sale my client could have, probably gotten, hadn't, she bought at midnight. Like, how many offices are open at midnight?
Right.
So, and you mentioned that you do your sales calls between 5 and 7. Well, now, wouldn't it be nice if maybe some of those folks could have bought maybe on your website through your LawnBot instead of, like, having a log jam of call? Like, I've been there. Like, I've been on lawns and, serviced all day and then had to sell and I was up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, entering all the shit into the CRM and like trying to make it all work. It is one of the most stressful things in the world, especially in our business in the North, where you go from like slow to April, May, where it's just batshit crazy bananas. So
yeah, there's so much going on.
I was like, how can we kind of optimize some of this flow? And I looked around and I said, you can buy everything else online in a beautiful way. You got Amazon, you got Grubhub, Uber Eats, all this other stuff. But there's nothing for the lawn care industry that I'm happy with. I looked in a lot of places, and a lot of other programs and softwares just kind of threw up a price and said, here you go. Or it had the McDonald's perspective and said, okay, here's our menu and you pick what you want. People, as you know, buy things to solve problems. And that's what we've done with LawnBot. So we actually prompt the client. We have probing questions in the LawnBot that says, hey, what did you do last year for the lawn? What are you looking at done this year? If it's mowing, maybe it's like, when was the last time the lawn was cut? Who cut the lawn last year? Did you do it yourself or hire another company? What are you looking for in a company that, you're not currently getting? All those probing questions can actually affect the price. And it's customized to your business. So it's pretty powerful when you can be open for business 24/7, 365. And, any salesperson that I paid was paid something like $1,500 to $2,000 a month plus a sales commission. LawnBot is going to be the most inexpensive salesperson you could have ever hire compared to how much a human actually costs when you start looking at all the overhead associated with those people. So
wow.
And it never comes in late. Always has a good attitude.
Sure.
All those good things. So.
Well, I was watching a YouTube video that you sent me a couple days ago because I want learn more about it and try to have an intelligent conversation with you about your product. And it was really cool because I actually shared with you before we hit record. Like, there's so many websites where I've tried to buy things or ask questions, and sometimes you get those automated chats, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I'm just gonna be honest. And when you said that that's kind of what yours do, I was like, well, and be fair, I was a little skeptical, because I had been on some, like my bank, and I'm like, it's like, hi, I'm an automated bot, like, basically is what it says, and it's like, I'm here to help you with your problems, and I'm like, so you ask like this, and it errors out, and then it like, yes, this, and this, and it errors out, and I'm like, this is super frustrating, and then you do I want to talk to someone. And it's like, no problem. I'd be happy to transfer you to, a call person. Please let me know the reason for your call. I'm like, I just want to talk to somebody to better route your call. Or it even says this on the thing, to better route you to the right department. And then you get transferred to somebody in India. And I'm like, what the hell? Like this, I don't know if you guys can ever relate. It's extremely frustrating.
Yeah, no, it's extremely frustrating, extremely painful. One big difference between our experience and theirs, those types of experiences, those let's say a Chase Bank bot or whatever, those types of bots, they're trying to handle too many use cases and intent. Like your intent might be there might be 20,000 different intents going through that bot.
Right. Exactly.
We're solving one intent. When somebody hits your estimate request form on your website, their intent is to get a quote. Like that's the one intent we're solving. And we don't try to solve a million different intents.
Sure.
We're solving one intent. We want to be able to take that lead and turn them into a closed sale. And a lot of it's pre-scripted so that we don't really ask for a lot of user input unless there's some feedback that we need to get from the client about, in the irrigation case, number of zones and that kind of thing. But we try to keep it very streamlined, and we really mapped it to our internal sales process over the phone. So all of the wording and the word tracks and everything, they're matching all of our sales scripts that we use. And then we even go as far as the client can say they need to think about it. Or we say, well, what do you need to think about, John? Like the price, product, people. So we've actually built in the ability to overcome objections and then ask for the sale again, which I think really separates our product from anything else that's out there. Is there's a few other imitators in the space now that we've been so successful, and they've literally stolen shit off my website and posted it on theirs.
Wow.
My marketing messaging, which I actually work very hard on. Like this is my full-time deal now. LawnBot, like I'm very obsessed with
Oh yeah.
making it super easy and simple for people to buy lawn care online.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have somebody, see what we're doing, and they have a way shittier product, and then they just steal my marketing message and my whole, like literally the words on my website. I'm having my lawyer send them a cease and desist letter right now.
Smart.
But
Bill Gates with Microsoft said, if China's going to rip off anything, let it be us. And so that's your first feather in your cap to, hey, you must be doing something right if people are starting to rip it,
literally the same exact words. It's ridiculous, but
people rip my logo, man. So it's all good. That's why I had to spend $5,000 on trademarking logos and it's stuff that I never would have thought about. But just so people get the whole macro. So let's say that you're an owner operator, or you got 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. Maybe you do have an office admin, but she's doing payroll. She's doing all just different paperwork that comes in. And I don't have a company that size, so I don't know what an admin does all day. But she's dispatched. She's putting out fires at the office. She's making sure that the ink, there's toner, in the printer, everything, right? And God knows that she's probably buried as it is. But then, like you said, that awkward transition is hiring the first full-time salesperson. Well, again, just to go full circle with what LawnBot is that instead of paying somebody 20, 30, 40 grand a year to sell, you can incorporate LawnBot for a couple $100 a month, if I'm not mistaken. And they can be your full-time sales chat window to capture those leads. And then let me ask you that. It's actually really, really cool. If you guys have not seen the YouTube video, I'll try to leave that in the show notes as well. Or type in like LawnBot on YouTube, and I'm sure the video will come right up. There's a 2-minute sort of like video capture explainer video that you did that was really, really helpful. And literally, I mean, imagine like a blue Facebook Messenger, kind of a window, and somebody's like, "Hey, I'm looking at lawn service," and it's like, it's actually really cool replies. Like you would 90% of the way imagine that it's just a person, even though it's automated. Like you would be like, "Well, this seems like I don't know if this is a person or not." Like it's that good. And they're like, "Well, hey, I'm interested in services. No problem. What's their address?" And pew, it shoots back over, and then LawnBot replies, "All right, well, this is the measurements and." Are you looking at this or this? And they say fertilizer, and it's like, well, we have three rounds left in the season. It'd be $121. Do you want to get started with this? Yes, and they sign up by punching in their credit card info, literally with the chat link that it sends. It's really, 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 really cool. Let me ask you this: on the back end, Kendall, what happens if somebody does incorporate LawnBot into their business? I know we're probably these aren't questions I asked you before we hit record, but hopefully these are okay questions. But what happens to the lead after that? Yeah,
these are similar questions to what folks ask on the demo. So when people sign on, right, we send them an onboard email, and we really want to know what products they sell, like what programs, how many treatments you do, what month do you start treatment, what month do you stop, or mowing, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So you might sell 31 mowings in a season, and you start in March and you end in November. What's cool about LawnBot is, especially in the northern markets, is it's smart, so it knows when the chat's taking place. So if somebody goes through the bot in, let's say, June, it's not going to sell them 32 mowings because there's not 32 mowings left. It's going to sell them however many mowings are left, based on how much longer in the season you have. So that's really cool because it's truly set it and forget it. Once we have it built and connected to your website, all we got to do for the next year is just change the service here, and then it's obviously handle any price increases if you do that kind of thing. But it's pretty simple to get signed up, and we send them an onboard email, try to get all the specifics to build into their bot. And then you ask about maybe what happens if they don't buy. Well, all of that data is sent to your team in an email, whether they sign up and pay or let's say they don't buy through the bot. Well, your team gets all of that information in an email. It says new lead alert from LawnBot, and it has their name, address, phone number, email, square footage that was quoted, the services that were recommended in the chat, and then maybe any feedback that the client had. So, they have an opportunity, like a little text box that pops up and with some feedback if, they didn't convert for some reason. And that can be really helpful information for business owners because maybe they're like, yeah, I'm looking for stump grinding. Well, we don't do stump grinding.
Right.
So I'm glad we just kind of got rid of that person.
Mm-hmm.
And, got them out of the way so we can actually talk to people who are actually interested in our service.
That's sometimes, I mean, no kid on that one. I get 8 calls a day, and I'll be honest with you, 4 of them aren't even in the city I work in, because I've changed my voicemail to, hey, we mow grass, call me if you want service, to, hey, we mow grass in this city, call me if you want service. And a year ago, 2 years ago, I changed it to, hey, if you're between this road and this road, and on this road and this road, and you're looking for maintenance, and you're ready to sign up now, then please leave us a voicemail. But it's like all the all the different, hey, do you guys do fertilizer? Do you guys do landscaping? Do you guys do stump grinding? Do you guys do sprinklers? I got this property, 30 minutes away. I was wondering if you can do a one-time cut. I'm 15 minutes south of you. Do you guys do a cut over here? All that mess. Because, dude, I get 10 voicemails, have to answer them all back, and one would be a good lead. And
right.
But I wouldn't even get to the one because I was dealing with the other 9. Like we were talking about earlier, it took me 72 hours to get back to these people. Now I get one voicemail, one sign up, and so that's a huge thing that you can do with LawnBot if you're trying to grow a company is just filter out the garbage leads that don't line up for what your company's looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'd much rather get back to the office at 10 o'clock at night or whenever, especially in the summer, and be entering sales instead of leads. So that's another, big benefit. Like that sale is closed. We've already gotten payment for the first mow or the first application, or they've prepaid already, which is awesome, right? They're going to be prepaying $1,300 for like a 5% discount. So it's and that's another thing too is these companies are growing and scaling. Is we have a proven template that works, proven probing questions that work for every market. We're in almost 32 states right now, 70 companies on the platform, and we're making a lot of sales, closing a lot of deals for companies. And it's not just fertilizing programs. Lawn Jocks, for example, down in Memphis, Tennessee, they're full service. They do mowing, fertilizing, mosquito, you name it, they do it. And they're clipping out $1,500 mowing programs, and they sell them the fertilizer package too. That's another nice part is you can actually upsell right in the bot as well. It's a beautiful checkout, similar to like Grubhub or Uber Eats, where they can just simply add things to their order and subtract it. Maybe they hit you for mowing, but then they can scroll down and see your upsells. Like I actually stole this from Starbucks because I kept going through Starbucks and they kept asking me, well, what else can we get you? And I'm like, damn, that's a good line.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Right.
So I incorporated that into the bot and says, what else can we do for you? And it shows all your different upsells. So like liquid aeration, core aeration, seeding, and it has pricing for all those. So they can simply just, add, click on the on button and it adds it to their cart, their checkout. And it's doing all the pricing and stuff in real time so that the client can see it. And it looks super intuitive and simple, but I'll tell you what, like coming from a lawn care perspective into the technology world, there's a lot going on the back end. There is a lot going on.
Well, dude, I'm pumped for you, man. It seems like you have a really good product. I mean, John Pajak wouldn't stop talking about how good the service is and what you guys have going on with it. Let's just wrap up with that. I guess if you and I could talk sales all day, and but I want to be respectful of your calendar too, and we're already at about an hour here on the podcast. So if a company is interested or they do sign up, what's the whole process look like? Maybe just the last kind of puzzle piece, just so if anybody does want to sign up with LawnBot or reach out to you, how does that look?
So if you have in between 0 and 3,000 customers, you can simply just sign up on our website. There's a whole, you can buy a bot online. Go imagine that, right? So you can actually sign up online. There's an online contract. If you click on pricing and then just tap the $3.99 a month option, there's actually a contract you can sign right there and get signed up. Or you can reach out to us at lawnbot.biz, lawnbot.biz, B-I-Z. So we get you the business.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hit us on the website, and we can get you over a proposal, and actually set up a live demo if you actually want to like click through it yourself. The reason why we had a live demo up for a while, but each bot is customized to each market, so we were running into issues where they might go through the live demo and they're seeing an algorithm for Colorado, but they're in Nebraska, and they're like, they tested on their Nebraska lawns and the Colorado algorithm is wrong for the Nebraska lawns. So we really, we like to kind of walk people through the demo and set the algorithm to their market, and so that they can get a good picture of how it works.
Interesting. No, that's really
that's
cool.
The biggest question that's the biggest question we get from folks is like, how do you get lawn size?
No,
Yeah, so
that's really cool, man. Well, hopefully, if people want to check out more of that, they can visit the website. I'll make sure to leave the link in the show notes and all that. And then it was lawnbot.biz. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Lawnbot.biz.
I love it, man. Well, let me ask you this. I always try to leave the podcast with, giving kind of an open mic. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and you and I were trying to lock this down the last couple of days, and the world's burning right now at the time of us shooting this episode with coronavirus, and so not to make light of it, but we're still trying to run our companies and business and keep society moving. What any takeaways or any final tips that you wanted to share from your experience running your business and with your dad? Any helpful tips that you think maybe somebody who's trying to grow their sales, or any great tips that work for you?
Yeah, this is definitely just one major one. And, this is an industry where folks are willing to give back. It's a really unique industry, the green industry as a whole. I haven't met one person who's more successful than me who hasn't spent time with me
Amen.
to just talk with me for an hour on the phone. So if you're ambitious and you want to grow your company, even competitors in your own hometown. Like I've had lunches with my competitors who have bigger companies than I do, and they're willing to share. So I would say the number one tip is to reach up in relationships, because people are willing to give back in a big way in this space, because we've all the self-made people have come from very modest roots, and they want to help other people kind of climb up the ladder and attain success, especially if they're ambitious and
Amen.
They're ethical. So I would say reach up in relationships. I've been doing it my, short career. I've only been at this, full time, 6 or 7 years now. But, I've from Matt Jessen and with Green Lawn and Pest, I think they do like 20 million or something in fertilizing revenue. They've all spent time with me on the phone, and all it took was me. Obviously, it's a little scary, reaching out to those people and saying, "Hey, like, I love what you're doing. Like, would you mind hopping on the phone with me? I have some questions. Your success inspires me. I want to be successful like you one day." So obviously, flow them some power, but then I haven't ever had a situation where it's like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Like, I have some secret sauce.
Right.
Yeah, definitely try to reach up in relationships, and I've outgrown my mentors at every stage of growing the business.
Sure. So
you find one mentor who's a little bit bigger than you kind of emulate what they're doing, and then you look up one day and you're like, holy shit, like my business is bigger than theirs. I got to go find a new mentor now. And I think, as you grow your business, it's a reflection of your personal development as well. I know myself, just watching how much I personally developed these last 6 or 7 years from when I first started. It's amazing to kind of see that personal development growth. And I think that's why we've been able to grow LawnBot so quickly. I mean, I've grown LawnBot almost like it's going to be close, I think, this year to the size that my lawn doctor company was at revenue wise.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
Yeah. So but like you're learning all that data along the way. So I knew even if it wasn't LawnBot, if it wasn't Lawn Doctor, if I go into something else, I know it's going to be successful because I know how to sell, know how to market, know how to get customers, know how to get people's attention, know how to reach up in relationships. So yeah, reach up in relationships.
I love it. No, dude, I will echo that, because we say the exact same thing with, guys in my area. There's some big fish here, and we've always tried to be friends and network and work together. And, there's a big guy next to me named Troy Clogg. And if I ever got questions or comments, I'm always like, Troy, what do you think? And my other friend, Mike Bedell, Mike, what do you think? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
No, dude, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show with just some good sales tips in the beginning and talking about your new venture, and wish you nothing but the best and all the success. That's pretty much what I got on this episode, man. So thanks for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Look forward to linking up with you probably at the GIE. We were there last year exhibiting, and we'll be there again this year. Okay,
cool deal. Well, that's where people can look forward to seeing you guys in person. And if they want more info, lawnbot.biz for the website. Cool deal. Well, Kendall, thanks again for being on the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good day.
You bet, guys. All right. Well, hey, guys, we'll wrap up really quick just saying thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast and hearing the interview with Kendall. One other thing, if you guys haven't left us a rating or a review, if you want to look down at your phone, hit 5-star on the rating. We super appreciate that. So many great reviews coming in from all of you guys, just saying how much you appreciate the show. And you know what? Just wanted to echo that back at you guys and say I appreciate you guys for listening as well. So, all right, we'll wrap up the podcast, guys. Thanks again for checking out Fullerton Unfiltered. We'll catch up with you guys on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.